full body stretch out. I think the thing that is the funniest to me is how close I have to get to the screen to like control it. And that's really not the best look. So sit on your ball, please. Welcome to the Monday show. Perhaps you've noticed that I've redirected the view, and we're going to see what the lighting does. Chris, that information you like sent my way as far as checking into the video quality, oh my God, did that take me down some rabbit holes of just hours and hours of trying to sort something out that I knew I wouldn't be able to get to the bottom of, but by golly, I tried. Stop your bouncing. And I got to thinking maybe the webcam isn't a 1080p. Maybe the iPad isn't set for 1080p. Maybe the Surface Pro isn't set for 1080p. Maybe my phone isn't set for 1080p. Guess what? All of my gadgets, hopefully you're like into your next thing, sitting up tall, shoulders out of the ears, belly drawn in. One little thing before I continue my story here is in the process of you sitting up tall, be very careful to not excessively, it's really hard to see, but sometimes when we sit up tall, we actually crimp the low back because we project the chest forward. Draw your middle back by doing a smidgen of a pelvic tilt. Having to stop and kind of feel what happens when you draw your shoulders and ribs down and then do a smidgen of tucking, which then you have to be, it's like a smidgen, or then you're an C curve. So find the happy medium where you can feel like you're activating your phenomenal abdominals. And now I'm going to stop and come back to the front. So you're going to hopefully get to a position where you can have legs not touching the ball. Okay, they're just a little bit forward, knees directly under the heels. We're drawing the ribs down, pulling the belly in, even if your hands are here, which would be great, right? Pick one foot up. And if you can't keep that foot up, then just try to use the toes down to help you stabilize. But this was something that we used to do at the beginning of our workout when we were including the ball. And that's just our little hip shifts. If it's too much to have both feet off the floor, then do what I'm doing. But I'm going to go ahead and transition back to up. Maybe you can have your foot off the floor and your hip shift is not so contrived. It's just because your body's trying to find balance. That's okay. Touch down, switch feet. When you pick up the leg, did the ball slide forward and touch the calf of the down foot? First, establish it's free, no contact with calf and ball. All right. Arms out, because arms here only make it worse. You're cheating if your hands are on the ball. Okay. Toe down if you need to. What happens is if your ball is rolling forward and touching your calf, then you are in C curve too much. So try to reset into your good clean S, and maybe you can get it going a little faster. 5, 4, this is challenging. 3, 2, and cut. Good. So I hope you guys have set your mat down, because as we go into the ball walkouts, you'll want that mat so that your feet don't slide, right? And for me, I'll start pretty close to the end. Every time I walk back, I'm going to end up a little bit further back than I started. So don't start at the very end. Here we go. Down we go. Got my head up because I'm actually getting my feet to the front wide edges, and then I'm rocking down. One hand I'm going to put behind my head. I'm just kind of keeping my chin drawn forward until I really feel like I'm in the right spot. Okay. Depending on how much stretch you want, right? You can let your upper body come back. None of this stuff is new. We just haven't done it for a while. Although Chris let me know that she did do the ball workout the other day. And at this point, I have two ball workouts on the YouTube, and they're very similar. One is just a little bit harder than the other, but there's some similar pattern movements in there. So, all right, can you get yourself into your pushback position, even if your legs don't go fully extended and it feels good for you to just rock the upper body back supported? If you have one hand supporting the weight of your head, hopefully your chin is slightly tucked into your chest just a little bit, right? And then your other arm, if that shoulder lets you, take it for the stretch. If everything feels really fantastic about that, then try straightening your legs a little bit, right? Because you can always back out of it. Right? And I'm just going to hold this for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2. Start softening the knees more. Pull your head in towards the chest. Eyes are open. You're moving really slow, right? Navel to spine. Now, with your body here, you shouldn't need your hand supporting your head. We're getting ready to use our phenomenal abdominals, and we're backing ourselves up. Sit up. I'm going to reposition myself. Okay. We are intentionally going into C curve and S. So got fingers cupping the knees, right? Maybe your hands need to cup the backs of your thighs, pull up. I will tell you though that if you let your body just really get into C and then you take the weight of your torso back, there's a fine line where you literally have to stop, or you feel like your feet are going to come off the floor and you're going to fall backwards on the floor. So that's your gauge. You take it back. 1, are you comfortable? 2, no back strain, all abdominal load. And 3, can you just hang out for a moment? Keep pulling the belly in. Where's your head in all of this? Since our hands aren't behind our head, we want to draw the chin forward just a little bit, right? So the neck is relaxed. Pull up. Whew. There should be an intensity with that, even though the movement's only like a couple of inches. Do one more. Don't lean back. Start by pulling your navel in and getting your hips. See, the hips draw the ball forward. It's not about you leaning back. Curl, right? And then once you go, I'm locked into the pelvic tilt, maybe you don't have to go any further. But if you want to, then you get to draw the chin towards the chest. You're kind of looking down the middle body. You can always keep your hands kind of hooked to the leg. If you will opt and hook your hand to your leg, it will permit you to go back a little bit further, but that's only if you feel like it's not enough for you in the basic position. Pulling up by pushing the hips into the ball and rocking back. Slow forward roll. Not knowing how big of a ball everybody has, I'm going to give you just a little pointer here. We can see that my ball is really squishy. And so right now my hips are a little bit lower than my knee line. If you have a giant ball, it will post your hips up. And then when you roll forward, you probably won't get very far because your ball is so big. So if that's you, then you just scoot yourself a little bit to the front edge. And so when you roll, because we're going to get this movement to be more than just you into what's called flexion. Okay. So we are going to do spine flexion and then leg extension. And then you rebend the legs, round yourself back up to your clean S. Ready? Chin draws, your eyes kind of track down to the floor. Start your forward round. So we are in spine flexion. If your fingers can touch the floor, that might give you a little extra like sense of control, but certainly they don't need to. You could put elbows on thighs, bend the legs, pull yourself back up. Do one more. Chin comes, eyes track, you're looking down, the body rolls. It's like you're picking something up off the floor. And as you do that, you just straighten your legs a little bit. And that's that fabulous beginning stretch for the hamstrings. And if you're really tight, then you'll feel it pulling across your lumbar, but that shouldn't be a bad feeling. Okay. So now rebend the legs, rolling yourself up. That's it for the ball today. I mean, there's so many more things I want to do. Maybe we'll bring it back in at the end, but just get that off the side. I mean, the ball just, I want us to go to our chair now. The ball, we could use the ball for the next little bit, but there's so much going on with our shoulder that I'm afraid the ball might make you feel really unstable, and then you won't get the benefit of what the upper body is. So I'm bringing chair into the equation. I'm going to side sit. Offsetting, right? So the back leg, we're actually initiating that little quadricep stretch, pelvic tilt. We're going to do two versions of this. This is the setup for our shoulder move, but we're going to come back to it specifically and really tackle the hip flexor and quad. Right now, it's just part of your active position. Can you put hand on your shoulder? Pull everything in nice and tight. And though I'm not sitting facing you, I want you all to try to square your shoulders, hips, and knees towards the forward facing position. Okay. And now with hand on the shoulder, this is nothing new, right? If you do not need to be in a modified arm position, then your arm can just be doing this big sweep. And does the arm have to be fully extended at the elbow for it to do you any good? No. And sometimes by you like forcing the elbow to extend, it puts your shoulder in the wrong spot. So this is important. As the arm comes through its back end movement, you want to take from it's called subscap, right under the scapula, and you want to see if you can glide it down as the arm pushes further back. And that's really hard to do with a straight arm. So if you will have a softened elbow and twist the body and start pulling everything back, that gives you the space and a really good stretch. And I don't know about you all, but what I'm feeling in my quad right now, it's weird because it doesn't actually feel like stretch anymore. It feels like that quad is really working to help stabilize my body. So maybe you feel that too. Draw the shoulder blade down, twist the trunk, right? And now release. Turn your body around the other way. Here we go. Where's this knee? Ideally, the knee is sitting under the hip. But if that jams up your knee, then you need to put a pillow under your bum, right, on your chair, so that you free up your knee and you're not feeling strain in the knee. Okay. Square your parts. What's required of your body to square your parts is an activation through the derriere to help keep everything dialed in right there. Hand to shoulder. We'll start the first few where you're just trying to push back, right? If you can get the elbow to draw up, and then remembering that as you break through this midway point, you want to pull everything down from the gap region and continue the rotation. Now, if your arm allows for this released hand to shoulder position, and you can take the back of your arm and push it back, right? And then pull everything down. That's another way to do it. You decide which one gives you maximum stretch, but no strain. Okay. Inhale up, squeezing the tailbone right through the tailbone, pelvic tilt, belly is drawn in, shoulders, neck, right? So much is happening here. Where are you getting hung up? Okay. And hung up means at the point where you rotate, does your arm go back, but your gaze doesn't follow the hand? Because that's a whole different ball game to get your eyes to go along with it. One more, lift and breathe, pick your position, twist, twist, twist. Don't stop the head too short of its rotation. Look at your hand. Ah, release, relax. Okay. We'll come back to the second version of that in a moment. Okay, we'll just give everything a little break, cross one leg over. It's worth repeating. If your knee is here, then just grab another pillow, throw it on your chair so it'll prop you up a little bit higher, and you might get your leg to lay out versus being knee up into the jawline. All right, what's the bottom leg doing? I'm going to show you something. This is such a common default, and it seems like the stretch leg is doing the right thing because it's like in this really level position, but your foundation leg has helped you get to the path of least resistance, which is not something we want to encourage. We want pillar, strong pillar, ankle, knee, hip, shoulder. That is a clean tracking line. And then what this leg does, we make the adjustment through the stretching side to accommodate. We don't let the foundation be skewed, right? So sitting yourself as squared in the hips, even if your knee is high, you can still maintain this integrity through the lower leg. Shoulders back, you're in S curve, belly is drawn in. You figure out, are you holding your knee or are you laying it out and able to take your forward push? Can you free your ankle up enough on this high leg so that you can give your foot your little circles? Because I have now conditioned you to threading your fingers in between your toes, it feels like a less than thing if all you're doing is your circles. So let's go ahead and get those fingers to interlace between those little toes. Ooh. And since we're going to be here for a moment or three, okay, it's nothing new. You're just going to let those fingers, encourage those fingers to get nice and deep between the toes, even if you need to take each toe individually and give it a tug to try to get those fingers in between there. Okay. And we circle. How much pressure are you feeling from the weight of your leg pushing down against that muscle? Because if it's really uncomfortable, then we need to find another place for this foot to sit. Okay. My quad is just really tight and like it's uncomfortable for my foot to rest where it was. I needed to move it. It's kind of like trigger point release for the lower end of the quad, but it's very distracting. Reverse rotation. Rich is trying to sneak out of the house. And ordinarily he would have been able to, but I saw him come down the stairs and we're rocking. He tries so hard to accommodate us. Now, pull the toes, push them. When you pull them, right, we're getting this extra little stretch across the top there. And don't just stop at the toes. See if you can get the ankle, right? That's opening up a little bit more. Right? You have dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. Dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. Push, pull, and release. Oh, other side. Start with just the basics. So this one's not going to be pretty for me. And I'm going to try to make sure that I execute precisely what we set up on the other leg. Stacking knee, ankle, tracking hip, shoulder. Is your body cockeyed? Use your hands, evaluate that. I'm doing it. I saw this little thing on, you guessed it, Facebook, although it may have been Instagram. They're the same to me. And it was about laying on of hands. Okay. So when your parts protest, don't ever think that you don't have some power in your own touch of treatment of parts that just feel like they just need a little extra attention. And I'm always, even before I tweaked my knee, that was a place that I always went to because I know so many people suffer with like knee restrictions. Here we go. Can you put your fingers in there before we start the little ankle mobility? I am making great strides with my knee rehab, so much so that I really wanted to call a girlfriend. She had invited me to play pickleball on Saturday, and I declined because I knew that one, I shouldn't, but I really felt good Saturday and yesterday. So I did my own pretty vigorous workout yesterday, and I'm so close. You know, the stairs, just getting up and down the stairs has been a great way for me to train my knee. And I know it's getting better because I'm able to do things now than it was 3 weeks ago on Sunday. Reverse your circle. Don't just kind of lazily rotate the ankle. I want you to feel like as that arm comes back that you're pulling on your toes, even if you're supporting your knee up, right? Versus trying to lay it down. Pull on them. Feel that sensation across the top of the foot, through the toes. I'm going to tell you exactly what I feel. I feel between my fourth toe and my pinky toe is so, it's like screaming at me. I don't feel my fingers between the other toes, but there is something really, really tight down there between that baby toe, right? So you feel it, you embrace it, right? You know you're not hurting yourself. It just is part of your fascia treatment. And now release it. Oh, okay. Can we, for a moment, just get into this good posture, whether you're pulling your knee up to get a little stretch through the hip, or you're able to stay aligned with your tracking bottom leg and just press forward. So while we sit here for an extra 20 or 30 seconds, as I always know, I need a professional. I need a professional to, since I checked all of my settings, I then ran some test video knowing that I had just checked all my gadgets. Everything is 1080p set. And then I ran some tests in different lighting abilities, to which I zoom. I did these little mini tests via Zoom and then uploaded those videos the way that I normally do to YouTube to see when they processed, would they be in SD or HD. I have to tell you, that was like a huge accomplishment for me, even just release and relax. Even for me now to just know that that exists. Coming up, you will need your pillow because I said we're going to do that hip flexor in a second way. So whether it's your pillow or your Airex pad, it might even be your yoga block. Okay. You are not going to be kneeling, but the pillow, I want the pillow to be a contact for the down knee. Not for you to like get weight bearing on it, right? Because you're still going to be propped up. So, but it will make a difference in, we'll call it your stability, right? So if you'll put your pillow under the knee, zip and tuck your parts. The knee, if you put a pillow down and the pillow's so flat that your knee doesn't touch it, then you're kind of missing out. But if that's what you have, then you won't even worry about it, right? But I've got that nice dense Airex pad. It's working good. Tuck the hips, pull the navel in, draw your middle body back a little bit so you're not an excessive S. And now we're just going to lean away from the down knee. This might be as far as you want to go, but if you can take your arm up, and we know that we can change the lever by putting your fingers on your shoulder and driving the elbow up, right? Just leaning, keep pulling your middle body back a little bit. Oh, before we come out of this side, we're going to release the arm aspect. I want you to feel like your down knee and this hip are turning because we're going to increase our upper body activation with it. So take the knee, the hip, twist towards your chair. And I'm going to move out of the way for a second. So I'm going to be grabbing the edges of my chair. If you're not set up that way, maybe your hands are working towards the base of the chair instead of grabbing the side. You have to figure out what is the right amount of rotation. If you can't get your hands to hold on to something, then it makes it a little bit harder. You put that opposite hand to the front knee. And again, where your head rotates kind of helps facilitate a deeper stretch. Shoulders out of the ears, right? Release, relax, easy does it. Push out of it. Something that maybe just came right into your thought process as you were disengaging is that because the pillow was part of your setup, right? That by the end of the stretch, you may have felt like you were more loaded on your pillow than what you intended to be. I don't need my chair. Like I love just the pillow. And so for this leg as an option, if being on your knee is of no consideration, then get down on it. And you'll feel just by you coming down that the stretch has magnified significantly, okay? But if you're more comfortable, perched on the edge, allowing the knee to take the down because it's supported, and then start the twisting hips, shoulder, knee towards this front leg, tucking the derriere, pulling your middle body back like you're harnessed, right? Everything slides back so we get this line that stacks. If you want more, then turn your head. Raise the arm. Lean away from that down leg a little bit. Whew. What I love is that every little subtle adjustment brings your state of awareness to kind of like a different part of the muscle. They're called striations, okay? So you can, just by twisting the knee and the hip and the shoulder and leaning, the stretch for me starts going down the adductor in addition to this powerful hip flexor stretch. Okay, so figure out, do you need your arms low, one hand on the front knee, one arm kind of working around the back of the chair? If you're just on the pad, then you probably don't have your chair as your assist anymore. So you've got to rely on your body to be in the right spot. What's your neck doing? Hopefully you're turning your head, but you don't have your chin lifted up. It's neutral. 5, 4, 3, 2, ease out of it, release out of it. Ooh. standing calf stretch. You're done with your pillow. Maybe grab a little bit of water. The rotation stretches, you know, when we do our breathing exercise too, where we take our arms up and we twist our body, those are some really full extended positions that not everybody's body willingly goes into. I'm just going to use the high edge. If you have a wall, if it's a dresser, you know, your coffee table, maybe low, but I'm going to use the high edge. I'm going to use the high edge as if this is a wall coming up in front, right? So step back, both feet. The feet are pointed straight ahead. And one foot's going to stay back and you're going to stride the other leg forward. Ah, immediately it happens. It's not so much do's and don'ts. It's more like me just bringing you into being aware. If you started with your feet too far back, what will happen is the leg that you're stretching, which is your trailing leg, that heel won't actually stay connected to the floor because your calf is really tight. Or when you step this leg forward, the back foot actually swiveled because it was seeking the path of least resistance. So now we're going to look down and you're going to look at what the back foot is doing. Is it angled? Is the heel lifted off the floor? Take a moment to square it up, and it might be that you need to get that foot forward a little bit. If you can't keep your heel firmly rooted to the floor and you in pelvic tilt with this front leg taking opposing push positions. So the front knee is pushing forward, but the back heel is pushing back. And that's what I mean by opposing tension lines, right? Neck and shoulders are relaxed, the butt cheek is tight. And the opposite of that is true too. If your leg hasn't gone back far enough for what your flexibility is, then it won't feel like anything is happening in the calf. Okay, that's important. That's where we're stretching. So because I love working balance into almost everything that we can do, right? You're set up here, your feet are offset, front leg is bent, back leg is straight. Can you take your hands from your chair and now see how noticeable it is that your body is leaning? Like here, it doesn't seem like you got too much lean, but as soon as you take your prop out, how do we create a more correct trunk line? And hopefully you're feeling like your legs are maybe a little shaky and you're working really hard at staying grounded. I'm intentionally shaking to try to show you what your body might be doing, right? Tighten it all up, pull the belly in. 5, 4, 3, 2, hands to the chair. Front leg is going to step back. Re-square the feet up. Okay. Transition, leg number 2 forward. And just like that, we look down again, because what did the back leg do? Did it rotate out, toes out? Do you have a hard time keeping the inside edge of the heel of this back leg on the floor? Is the weight on this trailing leg kind of rolling to the outside? Is it collapsing in? These are all little nuances of your body is giving you a sensory awareness. Like it's feeding you information if you just know how to process the sensation. Some of it needs to be adjusted, but more importantly, it's just about you identifying, where do you feel the stretch? Is it in the calf? Is it that the ankle is really tight, and so what you're feeling is across the front of the joint in addition to the calf? That's where I'm feeling it. And you know, It's probably been maybe 3 years now. That seems like a long time ago. But I rolled my ankle really bad. And since that happened, everything along this right side has been affected by it just by me twisting my ankle. Ready? Because we're going to get into the last few seconds. Your legs are, front leg is bent, back heel is pushing. Pull your body back, take your support out of the equation, tighten up, really straighten at the knee so you feel your buns fire up. I want you to be slightly challenged by the balance aspect, knowing that you can always just put your finger back on your chair, right? If you're standing here rock solid, then move your hips a little bit side to side and make your body, right? Have your body increase the challenge of stability just by you moving your hips and release. Take your front leg, step it back, release and relax. All right. If you can tolerate using your chair for one more thing. Oh, I'll turn my, so sorry. It's this spatial awareness thing, right? Like now that my whole body is going a different way in my room, everything feels slightly off. Okay. I've turned my chair this way because I want to be able to have a hand support. I don't want to leave myself unsupported. So I'm getting close to my chair. We just stretched the calf. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter which leg you put up. This junction right here tends to be a really tight spot for most people. And yet, if we're not going to be kneeling, then this stretch can be done just like this, okay? You see what's happening? A huge amount of what's called knee flexion is driving the angle of that ankle joint, and we're trying to decrease that angle. So depending on how much the knee will permit flexion, compressing, will determine how much you're able to get through the ankle. So you can bear down, elbow on that thigh, start your forward rock. Maybe this isn't enough for you. Maybe you're like, well, I'm not having any trouble here. I'm able to keep, this is really important. Can you keep your heel connected? And if you feel like you can go further, then I want you to step your support foot back just a little bit more and set it up again, okay? It's really important that the heel on that chair stay connected. And now, if you can still take more, then you put more weight into the thigh and you let your hands brace you. That joint, as we get older, stops wanting, like all the rest of our joints, right? It stops wanting to do its full angle potential. Push back. Other side. You don't have to keep going deeper and deeper, right? We are encouraging knee drive forward. Right? As soon as you get to a restricted point in the knee, maybe the heel wants to leave. And then all that has to change is if you will shift your hip weight back, it'll help you drive that heel down. Okay? You determine how deep can you go. How deep can you go, and how prepared are you to provide assist, right? Because if your arms are able to do any of the load, it will allow you to take your body weight into a different position than if you weren't relying on your hands, right? So I can only go so far here, but yet my body has so much more potential. Remember, don't do it, but I'm going to show you something. So if we're still not meeting your full end range, then you get your forward push and you take your trailing leg a little bit further back with the intention of using the trailing leg to help facilitate a deeper stretch. But deeper isn't better unless there's no pain associated with it, and all of the fundamentals of heel flat and knee forward, that's what we're after. Pull out of it, release and relax. It's time to go to the floor. We're going to miss that window, okay? Chair out of the way, grab a little drink. I do need for you to have your stretch out strap handy. It wouldn't hurt to have your towel or your pillow, right? In the event your neck needs its little prop. I did go and get my massage last week. You know, I told you I had my neck had a nice little kink in it. The kink is still there. I knew that the massage would not work out my kink because sometimes you just know that a kink is a kink, and until it works out on its own, it's a kink. But the whole rest of my body needed the massage anyway, and it was fabulous. I was hopeful that I would feel different, but I knew that it wasn't going to do it. So I am saying this for a reason. As we come down to the floor, it reminded me of a movement called cervical spine retraction, which you guys are no stranger to. You know, every time I have you do your chin tuck, right? That's cervical spine retraction. But as I'm driving home going, oh, man, I wish I could get this thing comfortable. You can tell, like I can't hardly turn. I can turn my, if I get everything where it's supposed to be, I can turn my head without pain. So here's how my drive home went. Come on down. I would say use your towel because I want you to start in a nice comfortable position. Okay. Now, imagine that you're sitting in your car, right? And you've got your seat nice and vertical, okay? And your head is touching the headrest. So here we are, feet firmly planted on the floor, legs bent. Take your middle body, pull that down towards the mat, and feel your buns just get a smidgen of like firing, okay? You're just activating them. Now, don't lift your head off the floor. Just slide your chin towards your chest. And when you do that, does your chest rise and then the back arch off the floor? Because if that's a trigger, then you've lost control of the foundation. So let's set it up again. Pull your belly down towards the mat. Try to expand across the chest. Let the arms, we'll say the backs of the arms are coming towards the floor, palms up. And now, can you draw your chin towards your chest without letting that create a trigger down the rest of the spine? It might make you feel like, gosh, I can't even like
I can't even swallow because everything feels like it's in the wrong spot. So here's where you're not going to lift your head. You're just going to let the chin slide back to whatever position it wants to go to. All right. Inhale here when your body's relaxed. As you start your exhale, draw your chin to your chest. You're watching the gaze travels from the ceiling to forward where you are looking to where the wall and your ceiling join. And not only that, peripherally, you might be able to see down the front of your trunk. But don't lose the spine connection, the abs drawing in, a little bit of buns tightening, and now release the neck. Relax the tension in the neck and the shoulders. So this is what I was doing as I was driving home. I'm sitting, I've got my elbow one on the little support on the door and one on the support between the two seats, and my hands are holding the steering wheel, and as I'm sitting in traffic, I've got my elbows pushing against those two braces, and I'm pressing my head back into the headrest, and all of my body is active. And miraculously, when it's all fired up and doing its right job, I have no pain in the neck. So that was like a very reassuring thing to me. Relax your body. You're going to do one more, because even though I was talking, I hope that you set yourself back up. Don't start at pushing the head into the towel. You start at what your buns and your abdomen are doing, right? So abdomen draws in, buns get tight, you expand across the chest, the arms can push into the floor, facilitate chin tucking, keep the belly pulling in, and you should feel like something is happening all the way down the spine. And now release, relax the neck. If you're on your mat, can you spread your feet so that the feet find the edge of your mat? That's how wide I want your feet, right? And we're going to take our legs, and our legs are just going to do this little float from side to side. We call it the windshield wiper stretch, right? So here we go. The neck and shoulders are relaxed. Your palms, I hope, are turned up, even if the hands are not like spread to open position, right? Open them up, do the best you can. Get those fingers to pull apart away from the palm. And now take the legs and hold the leg rotation to one side. You'll know that your arm is too high if it's causing you any biting in your shoulder. So I don't want you to feel like your shoulder is just stressed at all. This is a little hip stretch, and that's where we want our attention to be. Just nice and comfortable through the lower body. Pick it up, float them the other side. Internal and external hip rotation. That's what your leg is doing. And this is such a passive way to do this. It should feel good, and that your body is not fighting any part of the stretch. Go back to side number one. Okay. So if you're engaged here and the thought crosses your mind that you want a little bit more stretch, then the leg that's really getting the stretch is on the high hip. Okay, so this bottom leg, you could take the foot, and if you can, set the foot across that thigh. Now, immediately you might go, oh, like that's too much. But you'll know. Pick the foot up, set it across the leg, let the leg re-stretch, because you can always take the foot away. It is such a significant increase of the stretch. It feels really, really deep to me across the tip, but
also coming around through the QL and kind of into the SI. That's the part that can be a scary sensation, um, is to feel that QL and SI, because it's a fine line between, am I doing good by stretching that this way, or is it too much? That's your personal radar for you, okay? So take the bottom leg if you're using it, offset it, find the edge of your mat, because remember, that's where the leg, that's its start position. Bring the knee up, stop at the center. If you went through the extra little stretch, then I want you to just stabilize in the middle for a moment. Pull the belly in, squeeze your buns. You're going to feel this across the low back. Squeeze the buns, squeeze the buns. Maybe you need to re-enlist the cervical spine retraction as you're squeezing your buns. Give me a smidgen of pelvic tilt that stretches all of that lumbar area out, and then set the hips back down, right? And float the legs to the other side. Once the legs come over here, right? Have the shoulder like this. Is everything right about your upper body? You decide. Are you going to activate the lower leg, crossing it over? Everything I've given today, they're really deep stretches, right? Seemingly easy and gentle, but they're not. They're full range, end range, holding in a position that you wouldn't likely spend any part of your day in, right? Relax the belly, relax the glute, take all the tension out of your neck and shoulders. If you catch yourself with your eyes gazing like behind you, then you probably need to adjust your head so that your chin is where it's supposed to be. Slowly let the top leg slide off the bottom leg. You're going to do that real slow readjustment back to center, stopping in the center, giving me your pelvic tilt, buns tight, abs engaged, adjust your neck where it's supposed to be, do your very low bridge, which means you're not actually trying to thrust the hips off the floor. You're just trying to be in pelvic tilt as if you were going to do your bridge. And that relief of the low back is what you're after. It should be immediate. You should just feel like the lumbar is getting this nice stretch and release. Now, roll yourself to one side. We're going to set up for the quadricep stretch. We did 2 hip flexor stretches, the same stretch, just slightly intense, more intense on the second repetition. And we can't settle for just stretching the hip flexors, okay? We have to incorporate the quad too. So side lying, right? What's your pillow doing? This little flat towel is not enough without me folding it up to the next level for head support, okay? So you have to judge that for yourself. And even that, like, get that shoulder out of your way so that your neck can be nice and neutral. What I find is that so often we just kind of rush into getting our body situated the right way and to a comfortable spot where everything is right. So you just wiggle around on the back side of that shoulder so that your head is comfortable. And then you've lassoed your foot, kind of work that strap over you. Right? There's a reason why when I do this stretch, I generally use my arm as my support. And I'm going to tell you, because it's just dawned on me. Um, that in this position with your head on your towel is we have to now try to roll into the stretch. And you guys are going to have better success at it. I've got this, my ear thing on, so I can't actually put my head on my towel the way it needs to be. So don't feel like you need to lift your head, but we need to get our hip into a stacked forward position. And this is why I use my arm, because the leverage is all different. If you have fought hearing that cue where I'm saying roll your hips forward and your head is on your pillow, if that feels like a fight to you, you just have to keep going for it. Be prepared to roll your face into your pillow or your towel. I'm going to go back to using my arm for support because that just feels better to me. All right, so hip, the leg is being pushed back, you're in pelvic tilt, and we are in a slight forward roll. We're using our upper body to leverage our hips into the stacked position. Squeeze the buns. Just a nice gentle stretch should be happening across the front of your thigh. And now, since we're this close, okay, we're going to do one deep hamstring stretch from our side lying position. Get yourself comfortable, right? Take the bottom arm, let your bottom arm start controlling the strap. Ooh. Say hello. Did your toes rock up? Can you keep your foot flush? Your bottom arm, right? Maybe you're using both arms. Maybe that feels better to let the top arm just kind of grab the strap, slide back until that elbow can rest on your trunk. And then the bottom arm is helping brace the weight of the leg so that neither arm is doing too much work. And then the stretch doesn't have to be with a straight leg. You bend the leg if it's too intense. You let out as much strap as you need to find the proper angle for your amount of flexibility, right? So don't follow me and then hurt yourself. Okay. Wow. Just by you drawing your toes towards you a little bit, maybe you can't even handle it other than pulling in and releasing, and then soften the knee, take your body, push yourself up. So those two stretches we do on the other side, and then we're done. Bring your pillow around. All right. There's controversy is the wrong word, right? But there is some question about truly the benefit of this static hold stretching. And I don't know, like, I would hate to think that there's truth in it. So there are a lot of thoughts out there about what's the most beneficial way to improve your body's mobility. And based on everything that I've read, there are things that can challenge what you think you know, right? And so this is one of those things. As sports science just continues to improve and keep changing, the bar keeps changing about what you thought was gospel actually isn't, it's outdated. But there's something to me about just holding a stretch and feeling the muscle fibers kind of
you can feel them. It's like you can feel the muscle fiber come alive with the stretch. And I have to, that feeling to me, I equate that with a circulation, so life. And these static hold stretches just really feel like they're beneficial. So even though I've read that, you know, you can do away with your end range long holding positions because they're actually not helping you the way that you think they are, my brain challenges that information. Release, movement number 2. This is what we're finishing with. Figure out, how do you get your head on your pillow comfortably? You got to move your arm a little bit so that you can have the use of both arms to help you with this heavy limb. What is your top arm doing? For me, it feels good to pull on the strap, get my shoulder out of my ear and let my elbow, it's almost like I've just done a row, right? So I'm engaging those upper back muscles and I'm holding steady and I'm drawing the inside of my elbow down towards my hip. And then I can take this foot, pointed and flexed. I can soften the knee and still point and flex without it being overstretched. Right. So you decide, is the angle of your leg way over there? Everything about the setup is still the same, right? But in what I choose to go with, as I get back to the holding stretches, is that this little bit of information I read on how over time, again and again and again and again and again, this applied end range holding pattern release allows the body to produce the extra little links in the chain that over an extended period of time is how the body improves its flexibility. It's not just that the muscle miraculously gets more elastic, it's that there actually are extra little links in this muscle chain that create the limbering phase. So that's what I'm going with. And the fact that you guys keep coming to stretch class means that we're kind of all of the same belief. Like at the end of the session, you should feel good. You should feel like it's everything that your body needed, maybe slightly challenged, but still enough instruction to work at your own pace so that you don't hurt yourself, right? So having said that, I hope you guys have a great day. And Chris, a big thank you to you and Charlie for educating me on what I don't know about video quality. So stay tuned because I'm hoping I can improve that.